Hello students. So today we are going to start a new topic of conditional probability. First I will emphasize why do we need to study conditional probability. Then we will define the conditional probability appropriately. After defining the conditional probability, we will see how to describe the sample space so that we can compute conditional probabilities effectively. Once we have established the description of a sample space, then we will go ahead and study properties of conditional probability, which also include multiplication theorem, theorem on total probability, Bayes theorem, and independent events. So let us start the description of probability, that is conditional probability. Let me motivate why we study conditional probability. This motivation is through one example. So let us consider we are going for an offline mode, and in a batch of students there are 100 students. Some students, it's actually repeated, you don't need this. Some students are from AE while others are from BT. So there are two categories of students, AE and BT. Naturally, there is a natural split across genders, that is, some of them are male and some of them are female. And this is the summary of the number of students who are male. So in particular, from aerospace engineering batch, there are total of 60 students, of which 40 are male, 20 are females. In a biotech batch, there are 30 male and 10 female, so there are only 40 students from biotech. Now they are sitting in the class, they are attending the class, they are sitting in the class. A faculty enters the class and picks the student at random. If he picks the student at random, then we want to find that given the student is male, what is the probability that he is from aerospace engineering. Now if you look at the entire probability as a sample space, the way we studied earlier, we were dealing with sample space without any condition. For example, here let me write it in terms of events, then it will be more clear. For example, let A be the event that the student belongs to A, that is, the student not S, student is in A. B be the event that the student is from BT. M is the event that the student is male, and F will be the event that the student is female. No offenses for third gender. So this is the categorization that we have. Okay, so now if you look at this problem very closely, A and B together, suppose I consider A union B, that completely contributes to a batch of student, which is omega. Similarly, M union F will completely contribute to omega. Now you are asked a question, that is, what is a probability that the student is from A? Now if this constraint is not there, given that the student is a male, if this constraint is not there, the answer was straightforward. You will appeal to this particular sample space, that is the split between male and female, and then you will just simply count the number of males, which is already given here. So males, if you count, they are 70 in number, and the females, if you count, they should be 30 in number, because the batch is of 100. If you count with AE, these are 60, and if you count with this remaining should be 40. So this is very clear. So if you are asked a question that how many are males, then you can easily write 70. But now with our current understanding, I need to accommodate this particular condition, and for that what I need to consider is, I want to consider that the student should be male as well as he should also belong to AE. That means I am looking at the event of the form, given that he is a male and he should also belong to AE. So M intersection A. But so far we have not computed any probability of this form, M intersection A. But you can treat M intersection A as a subset of a sample space. So it is a valid event. So based on our understanding of probability, we should be able to compute the probability of this event using the axioms of probability. And in order to compute this probability, we need something called conditional probability, or if we can compute the conditional probability, our universe or the sample space may shrink. Therefore, let us try to focus on the probabilities of this type. Now, based on our understanding of classical probability, we can easily compute this. For example, I have this particular event where 40 outcomes are there. So 40 outcomes are there in M intersection A, and therefore 40 outcomes are there upon 100 students. So I can easily say that the probability is 4 by 10, that is also equal to 2 by 5. But that is not what is asked in the question. The question is, already we know that the student is male. This is the probability when the student is male and belong to AE. But we already know the fact that the student is a male. Now what this has given me is, actually my sample space omega is now restricted to set of male students. So what is a set of male students here? It is this M. Okay. And therefore my sample space is restricted to only male candidates. So I will only look at how many male candidates are there. I can also compute probability of male from the given data. That is, probability of male is 70 by 100. So it is 70 by 100, which is 7 by 10. Okay. And probability of M intersection A is 2 by 5. Now let us go and so we have already computed some probabilities. Now I want to compute a probability that the given student is from AE, and given a fact that this guy is a male, how will I compute the probability? Because it is known that the guy is a male, and we are implicitly assuming that all students are equally likely, I can simply see that my probability of this is number of events in number of elements in the set A intersection M upon number of elements who are male. This should be a valid answer. Right? So in this case what will happen is 40 and number of students who are male is 70. So it is 40 by 70. Now this is also equal to, this is also going to be equal to 4 by 7. Now we already have some computation like this, 2 by 5 and 7 by 10. Now can this computation reveal something about the probabilities? We will try that. Let us see. If I am doing this, and I am treating this, means this particular setup, and I am treating this as equally likely events, then I can divide it by, so let us rewrite this expression with a different color. Probability of A given M is equal to number of outcomes in A intersection M upon number of outcomes in M. Now you can divide numerator and denominator by number of outcomes in omega. Now what will this reflect? If I divide this by this, it actually reflects the way we have done. It is probability of A intersection M upon probability of M. Okay. So this is the so now let us look at the two answers. Suppose we have assumed that we don't want to consider this as a conditional probability. Then what we will the question that we will ask is what is a probability that this particular person who is selected is a male and is from aerospace engineering, right? So in that case I am simply asking a question of this form, which is A intersection M, and therefore the probability is 2/5. Now we have changed the question that the person is given that he is a male and we are finding that he belongs to aerospace engineering. The probability is 4/7. So the probability quantities are significantly different. They are not very much different, but they are significantly different in a sense that this is 2/5, which is smaller than 4/7. Right? So we have done this, and therefore we need to study the conditional probability in a given manner. We have actually motivated the definition of conditional probability. Now let us see when is this undefined. Suppose probability of M is equal to 0, that is finding a male candidate is 0. Then will this probability be defined? Actually, whenever probability of M is 0, then it doesn't make sense to compute the conditional probabilities of the form A given M, because anyway there is nothing to occur. So if there is nothing to occur, why should you compute given that that thing has occurred? So therefore there is no point in even thinking about conditional probability when the probability of the set is 0. Therefore we will always put a condition that probability of M is always not equal to 0. When I say not equal to 0, because I am talking about probability, it simply means probability of M is greater than 0. If it is 0, we don't talk about it. If it is non-zero, we talk about the conditional probability. That's the main idea of this. So in short, why we need conditional probability? Because conditional probability will change your universe. For example, here your universe is restricted to set of male candidates only when you are computing the conditional probability. You see here, your universe is restricted to set of male candidates only. Therefore your universes shrink. Sometimes the computations of probabilities are very easy when you are considering conditional probabilities as opposed to global probabilities. So this motivates the definition of conditional probability, and therefore the definition of conditional probability is this. For any two events in a sample space omega, we define the conditional probability of event B given that A has occurred as probability of B given A is equal to probability of A intersection B upon probability of A. Remember, probability of A should always be not equal to 0. This you always remember. If it is equal to 0, you cannot define the probability. Let us see how our computations change through this example. A pair of dice is rolled and x1 x2 are the outcomes, that such that x1 plus x2 is 10, and B is the event that x1 is greater than x2. So essentially what we are saying here is, because a pair of dice is rolled, my omega sample space will have all outcomes starting from 1 1, 1 2, 1 3 and so on up to 6 6 here. Let us say it's a 6-sided die, so I will have all these outcomes, right? Total how many outcomes will be there? 6 into 6, so it will be 36 outcomes. Now you are asked a question to find a probability such that A is the event that x1 plus x2, so this is x1 and x2, and is equal to 10. So essentially I want to take out all the elements such that x1 plus x2 is equal to 10. So let us list all the elements where x1 plus x2 is 10. So if I start with 1, the highest element that I can go to 6. So 1 plus 6 is 7. So I cannot start with 1. So if I start with 2, then 2 plus 6 is 8. Still I am 3. 3 plus 6 is 9. So 4 is the point where I will start, and 4 plus 6 is 10. So the first element will be 4 6. Then you will go with 4 5, then 5 with 5 5, okay, 5 5, 4 6, 5 5, then 5 5, then you go ahead, 5 6 is 11, so that ends the row with 5. 6 6 is 12, 6 5 is 11, 6 4 is another element. I think these are the only elements in this particular set. Now B is the event that x1 is greater than x2. x1 is strictly greater than x2. So what are the events? For example, if you start with 1, there will be several elements. So 1 2 is the first element. Sorry, we have x1 greater than x2. So let me erase this. So for x1 greater than x2, the first element is x1 greater than x2. So 1 1, 1 2, none of the elements qualify over here. So because I am looking at x1 greater than x2, let us start with this row. 6 6 doesn't qualify, so 6 5 will qualify. Then wherever first element is 6, all those elements will qualify. 6 4, 6 3, 6 2, 6 1, all these elements will qualify. Then here below 5 5, so essentially if you take a diagonal over here, all elements below the diagonal will qualify for x1 greater than x2. So how many elements will be there below diagonal? That is what we have to figure out. So it is 5 4, 5 3, 5 2, 5 1, then let us go ahead, 4 3, 4 2 and 4 1. Let us move ahead to level of 3, 3 2, 3 1. Then finally when you go to 2, it's 2 1, and that ends. So now how many we have? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. So the number of outcomes of A, let me write it here, number of outcomes of A is equal to 3 and the number of outcomes of B is equal to 15. Another interesting property will be the number of outcomes of A intersection B. So in this case, what we are looking for is the number is x1 is greater than x2 and x1 plus x2 is equal to 10. So in that case, 4, 6 x1 is less than x2, 5 x1 is less than x2, but 6 4, so the number of outcome is 1. So now can you compute the probability of B given A? Remember, if you consider only probability of B, there are 15 possible outcomes. But when you are considering probability given that A has occurred, that essentially reduces to, using our definition of probability, is probability of B intersection with A upon probability of A. Now you look at this event and try to compute the probability. So if you want to compute the probability of B intersection A, that is 1 by 36 upon probability of A, that is equal to 3 by 36, and therefore my probability of B given A will be equal to 1 upon 3. This is my final answer. So what does this demonstrate? So what I have done here is I have listed the entire sample space, then I have computed the probabilities, and as I mentioned earlier, the computation of probabilities without looking at the number of outcomes in B, standalone number of outcomes in B, that is 15. So in order to understand this setup in a raw elementary setup, I need to see all 16 outcomes. But had I started with finding probability of B given A, it is very easy. Once I figure out what is A, my A is this. So once I figure out what is A, what is probability of B given A? All events are equally likely. Therefore, B given A will be whatever the a probability of A intersection B is given A. So in this case, only this element satisfies. So I can orally compute and write this to be equal to 1 by 3. So I have shown you both ways where I am not using probabilities, but I am listing the outcomes of the sample space and computing the explicit probabilities. You can actually see it is time consuming experiment, but if you are actually using the knowledge of probability, that is reduction of the sample size, then you can easily compute the probability to be equal to 1 by 3. So these are the observations that we have listed here. So in this particular case, what we have seen is our sample space is reduced to the event A, and therefore computation becomes very easy. And now we only need to watch the outcomes of both A intersection B, both A and B, that is A intersection B. So this is how conditional probability will simplify your work in most of the cases. So now is the time to simplify the work and understand the sequential description of sample spaces that will help you in improving your analytical ability to solve problems related to conditional probability. When I consider a coin tossing experiment and there are a coin is tossed twice or a pair of coin is tossed, in both cases we have the first event, that is the first coin is tossed and the second coin is tossed, or the coin is tossed for the first time, coin is tossed for the second time. In that case, to write the event, you note that this is the experiment that we started with, and the experiment resulted in head and tail. This is the first toss. After first toss, when the coin is tossed for the second time, it is head and tail. Now if the question is asked to you For example, what is a probability of occurrence of head given that occurrence of head in second time? Okay, let me erase it. Head in second toss given that tail appeared in first toss. Now in this case, because we are talking about the shrinking the sample space, so how will we deal with this? So I have been given that tail has occurred in the first toss. So in this experiment, when I am focusing on the outcomes, I will simply focus on this outcome. I don't have to bother about this outcome. So this is completely out. Okay. And then when I am focusing on this, then what is the next question? That is head in the second toss. So I will naturally work on this branch, not on this branch. So this way I can reach to a unique conclusion, that is tail and heads. Right? So what is the probability of this? In that case, the total probability, the universe was shrunk to this and this, so the probability should be 1 by 2. So this is how the sequential description of the sample space will help. Let us go to the previous example where we have studied these male and female candidates from aerospace and BT. So all those things were there. So now in that case, how it will simplify? For example, given that the candidate is male, we have done that actually while solving the example, but here it is very easy to see. Given that the candidate is male, the question asked is what is the probability that he is from AE. So I will only focus on male and then the branch corresponding to it, which is AE. So this way, while solving the problems, if you write them in a structured manner, then it will be very easy. So let us do it for this case. So what is the probability that the candidate is male? That is actually 0.7, which is if you look at this is 70 and this is 30. So candidate being male, so that contributes to 100, and this thing is 60 and this thing is 30 plus 10, 40. Okay, so the candidate is male is probability has probability 0.7. The candidate is female has probability 0.3. Now I am talking about this branch. So the given that he is male, what is the probability that he is from AE? So I need to talk about the conditional probability, right? So 7 and 40. So given that he is male, so universe has already shrunk. So this probability is 4 by 7. Okay, and then given that he is male, what is the probability that he is from BT? It will be 3 by 7. And what is the probability that it is a female and AE? So it will be 2 by 3 and this will be 1 by 3. Now with this flow chart or with this diagram, you are ready to answer any question. Now I may ask a question that what is the probability that the given candidate is a female and she is from BT. So what will be the answer? I just need to travel across this branch. That is first the female candidate, and if it is a female candidate, we have already been given a female candidate, so I don't have to worry about this probability. But then what is this probability that he is from BT? It is 1 by 3. You can also check this using your elementary definition of conditional probability, which is B intersection F. B intersection F, that is 10 upon probability of F. What is probability of F? 30. So it is basically 10 by 100 upon 30 by 100, and therefore this is equal to 1 by 3. But with this sample description in terms of sequential in terms of sequences helps us in computing the probabilities readily. So whenever you are asked to solve a conditional probability problem, it is recommended that you use the sequential description of sample space to solve the problem. Okay. Now let us focus on what we have defined as conditional probability. We want to find some properties of conditional probability. Like we studied properties of probability. So the first exercise that we will conduct is whether conditional probability is probability or not. So I need to check the axiomatic definition of probability. As I mentioned, we will always consider A to be greater than 0, probability of A to be greater than 0. Why? Because if probability of A is equal to 0, there is no point in considering conditional probability. So probability of A is greater than 0 and the event A is fixed. In that case, it is very easy, the way we have solved some problems, it is very easy to see that probability of B given A is always less than or equal to 1. So I will use the axiom of probability for this. For example, we know one property of probability, that if A is a subset of B, let me not use the letters A and B because they are used here. So let us say if I have C which is a subset of D, then one property of probability that we have seen is probability of C is less than or equal to probability of D. I will use this property of probability to prove that 0 less than P less than P B given A less than or equal to 1. So let us write the definition of conditional probability, that is probability of B given A, which is probability of B intersection A upon probability of A. Now we all know that B intersection A is a subset of A. Therefore B intersection A, if I consider probability of B intersection A, it is always less than or equal to probability of A, and this is always less than or equal to 0. According to our assumption, probability of A is strictly greater than 0, so I can divide by probability of A. All three expressions I can divide by probability of A, which will give me this expression to be 0. This is 0. This is B given A, which is probability of B given A. So 0 less than or equal to probability of B given A less than or equal to 1. So the first property is proved. The second property is more or less automatic. How? Because if I want to consider probability of omega given A, then I can write this as probability of omega given A, which is equal to probability of omega intersection with A upon probability of A. What is probability of omega intersection A? It is probability of A upon probability of A, which is equal to 1, which proves the second property. So we have also proved the second property of probability. Now let us go to the third property, which is when the sets are disjoint, mutually exclusive, the union, the probability of union is equal to sum of probabilities. Again we have to use the basic definition. So I will start with the left hand side. So this left hand side is equal to probability of B1 union B2 intersected with A upon probability of A. So this probability of A in the denominator will carry as it is. We don't have to worry about it. Now because this is the probability, you can distribute this intersection over union and write this as B1 intersection A union with B2 intersection A upon probability of B A. This again will be equal to, okay, let us now look at these sets B1 intersection A union B2 intersection A. B1 and B2 themselves are disjoint sets. they don't have anything in common. So what will happen to B1 intersection A intersection over B2 intersection A? This is the question that we have to ask. If it is 5, then we are done, then we don't have to worry about this. Okay, so to prove this, again use the intersection property of this, distribute two intersections over each other. So in this case it will become B1 intersection B2 intersection A. Right? Now B1, we know that B1 intersection B2 is already 5. Therefore this all 5 intersection A must also equal to 5. Therefore, in short, what we have proved is these two events are disjoint or mutually exclusive. Wonderful. Then because these two events are mutually exclusive, I can rewrite them as probability of B1 intersection A plus probability of B2 intersection A, whole thing upon probability of A. Now just split this. What is probability of B1 intersection A upon probability of A? It is probability of B1 given A plus probability of B2 given A. Hence we have proved the property. Okay. Now in a similar manner you can prove this for a countably infinite sequence, which is again a similar exercise continued over infinite iterations. So I will not show this. This is for you to prove it. It's an exercise. It's just whatever I have done for 2 cases, you can do it over infinite range, that is union over j is equal to 1 to infinity, and you can prove it. So what we have just now shown is a miraculous result, that is the conditional probability of this kind is actually a probability in itself, because it satisfies axiomatic definition of probability. Therefore, all properties of probability are valid for conditional probability as well. So we need not distinguish between conditional probability and regular probability, because all properties are valid, and when you take the conditional world or conditional universe, your sample space is restricted, the computation of probabilities is easy. Therefore, it is recommended to use conditional probability appropriately. That is the advantage of probability. So in particular, now we have a tool. If we have understanding about conditional probability, we have a tool to find the probabilities of intersections in a more classical manner. So when we define conditional probability, a simple consequence of that is, the way we define conditional probability is, suppose I want to talk about probability of B given A, then we have defined it to be equal to probability of B intersection A upon probability of A. This is our definition. So if you rewrite this, simply rewrite this, this is if and only if probability of A into probability of B given A is equal to probability of A intersection B. Now this definition, though this thing, 1 minute, this is not if and only if statement. Actually this thing implies this thing, but this thing not always imply this thing. Why? Because our definition of conditional probability is probability of A greater than 0, but this thing is valid even when probability of A is equal to 0. How? Suppose probability of A is equal to 0, then A intersection B is a subset of A, therefore this is equal to 0, and the left hand side is also equal to 0. So we can actually write this even if it is equal to 0, but we cannot write the conditional probability when this particular event has a probability which is equal to 0. That is a minor twist, but it doesn't matter. We will not encounter with probabilities that are 0. or we may not be interested in computing the probabilities that are 0. So let us not worry about that. So in particular, the way we did for B given A, I can do it for A given B. In both cases, I need, in order to define this probability properly, I need probability of A to be greater than 0 and probability of B to be greater than 0. But this statement holds even if probability of A and B is equal to 0. Therefore, we are not mentioning a condition that probability of A is not equal to 0 or probability of B is not equal to 0. An interesting consequence of this is the extension of multiplication theorem for finite n. So what we are doing here is, we have finite intersection and I want to write it in a simplified manner, because if you look at that structured diagram, that sequential diagram, I can design a sequential diagram from A1, then consider only A2 and then sequence it into AN and so on. So this way the computation of probabilities is very easy. So what we have done here, let me prove this result using the two case. For example, this case. So I have been given a collection of events A1, A2 and so on up to AN. I have been asked to compute probability of intersection over I equal to 1 to n AI. So the simplest thing that I can start with is probability of, let us rewrite this as A1 intersection A2 intersection AN. The simplest thing that I can do over here is, I will keep using the definition of conditional probability. I can write this as probability of AN given A1 intersection A2 intersection into probability of this intersection over I equal to 1 to n minus 1 AI. Okay. Now this is not the end, so I can rewrite this again. In a sense, I will treat this as AN intersection over I equal to 1 to n minus 1 AI. Now this one I will again split over probability of AN minus 1 given intersection over I equal to 1 to n minus 2 AI into probability of intersection over I equal to 1 to n minus 2 AI. So if I continue this nesting, then what will happen? So here you have some formulation. So it is actually product over J is equal to 1 to n probability of A n minus j plus 1 upon, given that intersection over I equal to 1 to n minus j AI that's all. And let us look at how the formulation goes. So it is actually probability of A n minus j plus 1. So for example, when j is equal to 1, I am talking about AN given this probability of AI. So when you go with j is equal to 2, it will be AN minus 1 and so on. So when you will put j is equal to n, when you put j is equal to n, this intersection over n minus n, intersection over n minus n, that is 0, will be an empty set. Therefore, it will be simply probability of A1. N minus n will cancel off here, and it will be probability of A1 given an empty set, which is void, that is not allowed. So it will be probability of A1. Okay. So that way it will work. Or to be very precise, you just write this to be n minus 1 and then you multiply it with probability of A1. That is what it will be. So that actually gives you this formulation which is given here. So this is multiplication rule for probabilities. It helps a lot in computing conditional probabilities. Let us go ahead and understand theorem on total probability. So in order to understand theorem on total probability, we need to understand a concept called partition, which you might have studied in your earlier classes. Partition of the sample space in this case. So omega we are talking about as a sample space. So what is a partition of a sample space? Here I am considering a finite partition, but there is no restriction on partition, it can be infinite also. So the events b1, b2, bn said to represent a partition of a sample space omega if these three conditions are satisfied. Why are these conditions necessary? That we will talk about. So bi intersection bj is empty set. That means all components of the partition are disjoint or mutually exclusive. So they are mutually exclusive. Let me write it properly. Mutually exclusive. Then they are collectively exhaustive. What do I mean by exhaustive? When you take all the events together and consider their union, they will occupy the entire sample space omega. And the third thing is, all of them should have probabilities that are greater than 0. That means they have some non-trivial contribution to probabilities. Okay. And therefore, with all these properties, you can also say that the probability of omega is also equal to probability of union over I equal to 1 to n bi, and that is in fact going to be equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n probability of bi. This is because of the axioms of probability. So this means exactly, because all of them are mutually exclusive, whenever a random experiment is being considered or a trial of a random experiment is done, what we are actually seeing is one and exactly one out of these BIs will occur. Okay. This is the importance of this partition. So if that basically means I am partitioning the sample space in terms of sum of probabilities, and this is what will be stated as law of total probability. So what is theorem on total probability? So let us state it here. Given a partition of sample space omega, what is that partition? In terms of BIs, I equal to 1 to n. We have already seen that the sample space can be partitioned into this for any event A. The probability of A is equal to sum over I equal to 1 to n probability of BI intersection A. Is this obvious? This is the theorem of total probability, law of total probability. So if it is not obvious, let us prove it. For example, let us see, you consider an event A. You can write event A as A intersection with omega. Hmm. Now simply add probability of A intersection with union over I equal to 1 to n bi, which is again going to be equal to probability of union over I equal to 1 to n A intersection bi. Distribute union over intersection or intersection over union. Okay. Now all these events that are constituted, we have already seen while proving the conditional probability is a probability that they are disjoint. Therefore, summation over I equal to 1 to n probability of A intersection Bi is the answer, and that is what we are expecting. So that proves the theorem on total probability. Okay. So now let me elaborate this through our previous example, that is our when we considered conditional probability motivation, we have done this. So in this case we are actually partitioning the samples in this particular example where we have considered AE and BT students. We have partitioned the sample space into male and female. And once we have partitioned the sample space, there is another partition of the sample space which is A and B. Then we asked about the probabilities of A, and that can be computed using law of total probability, M intersection A. So in particular, if I want to compute in this case probability of A, then this will be given by probability of M intersection A plus probability of F intersection A. That is what law of total probability will require you to do. So that's an importance of law of total probability. This leads us to one more interesting consequence of probability, that is Bayes theorem. Bayes theorem has very non-trivial importance in terms of probability, but if you think about it, because of this theorem a field of statistics has emerged called Bayesian statistics. So this theorem is very important. I will explain why it is important. So let us first understand what this theorem states. So the theorem states that the events b1, b2, bk, if they form a partition of a sample space omega, then probability of bi intersection A is given by probability of A given bi into probability of bi upon summation over j is equal to 1 to k probability of A given bj into probability of bj. Okay, and this is a very easy consequence of definition of conditional probability and law of total probability, as well as multiplication theorem. We will use all three together. So let me demonstrate the proof of this theorem. Let us shrink this a bit so that everything is visible. Okay, so now I want to compute probability of bi given A. If I use my definition of conditional probability, what will it be? It will be probability of bi intersection A upon probability of A. Assume probability of A to be not equal to 0. Now you are also given that something is a partition of a sample space. So this is simple fact from definition of conditional probability. So I am just listing definition of conditional probabilities. Let us, for abbreviation, write CP. Then you look at this particular event, that is probability of A. If I want to write probability of A, and if I want to use information that this bi I equal to 1 to k is a partition of a sample space, then I can write this event as probability of union over I equal to 1 to k A intersected with bi, which is also equal to, because all these events are disjoint and theorem of total probability will hold, I equal to 1 to k probability of A intersection BI. Okay. This step is because of theorem on total probability, which we have proved just now. But this, if you again use your definition of intersection and multiplication theorem, then I can write this as I equal to 1 to k probability of A given BI into probability of BI, right? Now let me use since I is a dummy index, let me use the index j here. So this is why, this is because of multiplication theorem on probability. MTP, multiplication theorem of probability. This is law of total probability, theorem on total probability, and this is the definition of condition. Okay, then we have the result which is called Bayes theorem. Let me combine all of them together. So what is there? Yes, so all these things are here in one view. So let me write the expression here in black font. So it is probability of BI given A. So I am taking this. Now what is BI? Take the numerator. What is BI intersection A? Use multiplication theorem. That is probability of A given BI into probability of BI. So I have used this. Now you take the denominator, which is probability of A, but probability of A, you use this expression, let us call it as star. From star you get probability of A to be equal to summation over j is equal to 1 to k probability of A given Bj into probability of Bj. This proves our Bayes theorem.